Hello, my friend. On today's episode, I'm talking with Ben Pickard, and we are talking about the top 5 skill sets you must develop as a gym owner to thrive. This is a very actionable, very tangible podcast. So if you want to level up yourself as an owner and in turn level up your gym, this is a great episode for you, my friend. So keep on listening. Hello, fitness business nerds. What's up? Welcome to another episode of the Business for Unicorns podcast. Before we jump into today's episode, I just want to do a quick PSA for all of you out there. I know some of you are still designing your programs for your clients on spreadsheets or pieces of paper or torn up packets and folders in filing cabinets. And that might be working for you, but I know for many of you, it is not working with you. And it might be time to level up your facility. And the tool that we've been using for many years at Mark Fisher Fitness is Team Builder. And we love Team Builder, and I think you might love it too if you're ready to use an app. In Team Builder, you can create customized workout programs, track client progress in real time. You can even generate detailed reports in just a few clicks. And clients can fill out their own data on tablets or phones in the workroom using their fantastic app. Again, we've been using this at MFF for many years. We love it. So if you want to give it a try or learn how you can ditch the spreadsheets and pieces of paper in your gym for good, head over to teambuilder.com. Sign up now using the code BFU. That's BFU like Business for Unicorns to start an exclusive 30-day trial. Link down below in the show notes. That brings us to today's episode, which is all about Mr. Ben Pickard. How are you, my friend?
Doing great. How you doing?
Good. We're recording this at the start of fall, which means it's spooky season. You got a Halloween costume ready to go?
No, but I have a feeling I'm going to get enrolled into a Halloween costume that is like something with Katya. I didn't want to go one year for trick-or-treating because Liam is now doing his own thing. He's almost 13.
Mm-hmm.
She got a pair of deer antlers and she has a fur coat that was a hand-me-down from like her Oma, and I have a camo jacket. And we were a hunter and a deer, and it was air quotes funny.
That was funny. That's a good one.
I didn't know about it until like the night of. So I think that's going to be the case this year as well.
Well, I love a costume where you can just like put on clothes you already have and say like, oh, look, I'm a hunter. Like you already got some camo. That's easy. In fact, I am going to a Halloween party this year. And I know it'll be fun, but I was definitely talked into it. And it's with a bunch of neighbors and things. And I'm going to totally phone it in. I just bought like a tracksuit and like a gold medal and like an American flag. I'm going to be like an Olympian, just like a generic nameless Olympian, because not even a name, just like I'm going to be an Olympian, because I just been wanting an excuse to buy a tracksuit, really, is what I think is what this is all about. And so I'm going with it. Anyway, wishing all of you out there a happy, safe, spooky, ooky season. Let's dive into today's episode, which is all about the skill set that you need to be a gym owner. And this is a big topic. I think we could spend a lot of time on it today, but our goal, Ben and I wanted to do, is come on here and just give you a really quick kind of bulleted list of the things that we think gym owners need to excel at. Specifically, these are skill sets. We're not going to talk about the mindset piece. We're not going to talk about all the other things we could talk about when it comes to what makes a good gym owner. We really want to talk about like the specific, tangible, learnable skills that help you excel at being a gym owner. So get your pen and paper ready, because I think this will be a pretty quick podcast, but hopefully you leave here with some thoughts about how you can level up your game. And by leveling up your game as the owner, level up the game of your entire gym. Is that a good intro, Ben, to our plans today?
Oh, that was perfect.
I nailed it. Yeah, great. Awesome. Well, then why don't you start us off? What are some skills that you think really make the best gym owners kind of stand out from the crowd?
Yeah, I was thinking about this today. It's the inspiration for this podcast. And it just kind of struck me that like, we just have to become jack of all trades.
Mm-hmm.
And don't get me wrong, I aspire for all of you to be in the point where you can outsource the different things, different departments that have different, expertise in them. But more and more, we're seeing that the most profitable gyms are usually run a little bit leaner. They don't have a team of 15 people with individual, drastically different strengths. You're going to have a bunch of trainers. You maybe outsource marketing. You have an accountant, maybe a bit of admin help, but like it comes to you, it comes from you. And often the quote, jack of all trades, is misinterpreted as jack of all trades, master of none, but oftentimes better than a master of one. And that, I think, is our superpower when it comes to running a gym. So when I'm thinking about what are kind of the buckets of skills that you need to have, I think kind of starting at the top and working downstream, the first one is really ruthless time management.
Yeah.
And I'm not calling anyone out because like I check Instagram every day and it's definitely some wasted time in there. And I know, Michael, you mentioned you're not on Instagram for a period of time, which I think is beautiful. And I have so many
Yeah.
questions about that won't fit into
Well, I'll
the
dedicate
podcast.
another podcast to it. Once it's been a little while and I'm off it for good, we'll talk about it. But yeah, I've been off for almost a month now and I have a lot to say about it. But it is a good example of a pretty common time waster.
Yeah. And that's not the only one, but it's a piece of like, are you just ruthlessly consistent with your time?
Yeah.
Because we're only going to have maybe a few hours a week to carve out as project blocks, depending on what your workload looks like as a gym owner, and making sure that you're not just like using it well, but also using it in the right places and able to accurately identify like what's important and what's urgent. I think is a skill that we're never gonna stop learning, but it is the piece where
Yeah.
if you're doing a bunch of administrative stuff that doesn't even need to get done now, like it's just really hard to win. So I think first for me is probably time management.
Yeah, I agree 100%. It's the one non-renewable resource we all have, which is we're not going to get back more time. And we often don't think of time management and kind of personal productivity as a skill set we can learn. Often people get stuck in these labels they put on themselves. We're like, I'm just a procrastinator. I'll always do it last minute. Or I'm just not good with my time. Or, some people have self-diagnosed their ADHD, right? And all due respect to real people who actually have ADHD, many of you really don't. You just don't have any discipline and you haven't figured out how to best manage your time, right? And I say that with all love in my heart. But I think this is a really good one to start with, Ben, because if the owner of the business is the bottleneck to a business's growth, which is often the case, the root cause of that bottleneck is often that they're not spending their time on the most important things, and they're majoring in the minors. They're doing all the things that really other people can and should be doing, instead of things that really require an owner's expertise in decision making. Yeah, that's a great one to start with. Yeah. What's next on the list? Or I'm happy to go next if you want to back and forth this one.
But yeah, the next one for me, I kind of think of it, like honestly picturing kind of like an org chart in a way, is
Mm,
for whatever reason, that's the framework I've come up with. And then in an org chart, you'd usually have some sort of financial, fulfillment, and marketing and or sales. You might have those as separate
yep.
buckets. And I guess I want to start with like when it comes to fulfillment, most of us don't need to learn anything else about training. Now,
Yeah.
granted, if you got your certification yesterday and opened the gym today, yeah, you probably want to spend some time on training. But if you've been a student of the game for a few years and you've been as passionate about it as most trainers I know are, you're probably good, at least for a bit.
Yeah.
And I know that could be like a bit of a weird thing to say, and I'm happy to take the flack in the comments for that. But yeah, I think I stand by that. If you're already better than average in the fitness side of things, let's get your other weaknesses not hamstringing you. And probably the one that needs the most attention is marketing and sales.
Yeah.
I also know that's the one that most trainers see as, or most trainers turned gym owners like myself see as something that it's either icky or it's the thing they don't like to do or they don't want to do. So they spend that time majoring the minors on things that they like, but it's already 9.9 out of 10. And I really think it's like learning how to do marketing and sales. Because I'll add, even if you outsource this to an ad agency, which is a very effective and yet very expensive and time consuming way to get leads, like it works, it just costs money and time. That's still only one iron in the fire.
Mm-hmm.
You still want to work on joint ventures. You still want to work on referral plays. You still want to do the ground game. You still want to do reactivation campaigns. Like those are 4 or 5 just come to mind right now. And some of that's going to require things like learning how to do sell by chat and making engaging social media content. If you're not a social media person, it's like getting comfortable saying hi to strangers in the grocery store or hosting a lunch and learn at a bank or whatever's nearby. It's going to require getting like acceptable at copywriting and learning how to have some sort of structure for emails beyond just sending a monthly email to your members to update. Like there's, I don't know, gun to my head, you'd need 5 irons in the fire at any given point.
Yeah. I think it's a great list. I think that's a great list. I think that marketing is one of those giant umbrellas where you're making the great point here. There's a lot of skills to learn here, which is why I think it's got to be, as it is, at the top of the list here. It's like once you're good at managing your time, some of that time has always got to be spent on driving more leads into the business. And regardless of the style of marketing you're doing, whether it's paid ads or local ground game or whatever you're focused on, each one of those is kind of its own little skill set that to get good at. There are some core skill sets like copywriting that's going to serve you in all of the strategies, but there's other skill sets like talking to strangers or planning and hosting events, which you have to do with some repetition to get good at, right? And so I think these are all really good skill sets I think gym owners have to have. And I think you're right. If personal productivity is first on the list, I think being able to proactively and consistently drive leads into the business with good marketing, and then the next thing on the list is going to be sales. I think these skills are really critical. And all too often, they're not fun for people for the reasons you mentioned, right? They don't think they're a good writer, or they're afraid of doing sales because it's icky, or they don't want to talk to strangers, or they are more comfortable just being in the weight room, doing the things they love and they know and love. I think those are things we see hold people back all the time. But if you're not driving leads into the business, your business is most likely just going to slowly die. Or quickly die. Yeah. So
hey there, Business for Unicorns podcast listeners. I'm just making absolutely sure you have already gotten your free, instantly downloadable copy of my new book, The Little Book of Gym Marketing Secrets. You can find a link to download it in the show notes, or you can go to gymmarketingsecretsbook.com. I worked super hard to make sure this is a less than 30-minute read and is a comprehensive overview of all the things you need to do to grow your gym, get more leads, more clients, and importantly, change more lives. Again, find the link in the show notes where you can download your free copy at gymmarketingsecretsbook.com. And now back to the podcast.
Yeah. So let's keep going. So we got skills on managing your time, skills for learning how to do some marketing. And I'm going to guess sales we'll talk next about. So what are some kind of basic sales skill sets you think are critical?
Probably I start with just asking good quality open-ended questions. Thanks, not in small part to BFU, because you guys taught me a lot of what I know about sales. Like really good sales and really good customer service, I don't see as that drastically different.
Yeah.
You're helping identify like what's the pain point, and then you're helping them get to a solution. And hopefully in sales, you are that solution. But in good customer service, like, I imagine most gym owners listening to the podcast would say that if a prospect came to their gym and really wanted to sign up for a gym, but they were absolutely the wrong fit, it's like they want to be an Olympic weightlifter and they're on track for gold medal in the next Olympics, and you do Gen Pop fitness, you're probably going to, like, from an integrity standpoint, say, hey, we're not the right fit for you, but let me try to find someone who could be. Like, you might not be that solution, but you're going to help them. In sales, you're obviously hoping that you're the solution and getting qualified leads appropriately. But if you can help them identify the pain problem and acknowledge what's going on and then lead them to a solution, like that's, I'm not the king of sales here, but that's broad strokes. And that comes from open-ended questions. It's not making people feel bad about how many push-ups they can't do. It's not like just talking at them the whole time about how much experience you have and what your certifications are. It's really getting clear on like what's going on with this human and why do they want to make a change? What does success look like for them? And that comes from, honestly, a dozen-ish really good probing questions to really understand what's making them tick.
Yeah. I think that's a great example of like a really clear sales skill set, is just to be able to ask questions and have probing conversations. And in our sales scripts, we talk about that part of the process is kind of peeling the onion in a conversation. And it really is at the heart of what makes a good sales person, is that you make the person comfortable and open and vulnerable enough that they're willing to share with you what their goals are and their fears are and their past failures and successes, right? And when you have that information, hopefully you have enough to prove to them that you are the solution. You are the thing they need next to get the results they want. So I think that's a great one. And of course, we could list a million other sales skills, right? The ability to actually create and follow a sales process and a script, the ability to craft really compelling offers, the ability to create systems to follow up with folks and get them to come actually in the door, right? Follow up. Right. So there's a lot of other skills, but I love that you're starting with that big picture one, because I think it's really tangible and actually checks a lot of boxes for people when it comes to sales. So we got personal productivity, critical skill for gym owners, marketing. Sales is a short number 3 right after it, right? What else, if we're going to keep making this list here, are the core skill set for gym owners?
Yeah, well, I think there's 2 more, and I'm open to your thoughts on this as well, because I don't believe that I have all the answers for every human listening to this. I think the next one is, from a fulfillment standpoint, like really learning how to lead and manage a team. I know you're the person to talk best about this, since you're literally doing your doctorate in this right now. But none of us got into a gym because we wanted to manage people. We often don't have a lot of experience managing people. And if you want to make a consistent experience to be able to fulfill on the things that you marketed and sold about, it can't all just be you. And if you want your team to do it well, that requires like a large umbrella of being able to make SOPs, train your team, manage them to make sure they're doing things right, lead them on an inspiring vision. Like there's a lot of pieces in there that you can explain better than me, and we may not have time for today, but that's a bucket that I think gets missed a lot.
The good news is I've covered this topic on a million other podcasts, so y'all can go back and listen to. I have one that exactly is about like what is leadership, and so we'll maybe link some of those down below in the show notes. But yeah, I think you're right here. I think for when it comes to fulfillment, while most gym owners don't need to go back and get better at actual coaching or program design, the part of fulfillment that they need to get better at is teaching other people how to fulfill their services, hiring, developing, managing a team, and then leading that team to long-term growth and development over time is tricky. I mean, the quick thing I'll say about leadership, just a big picture topic here for gym owners, is that the most common traits strong leaders have in common is that strong leaders have really great self-awareness. They know their strengths and their weaknesses really well. They understand how other people perceive them. And they have really great learning agility, right? They're not stuck in one place very long because they really value continuous learning. They're not afraid to drop the way they were just doing things in favor of a new way of doing things that's better or more efficient. And so if you have a leader, want to be the best possible leader, and even people manager you really have to learn how other people perceive you and increase your self-awareness. And you have to hold ideas loosely. Right? Being able to learn quickly and pivot and try new things is the mark of a great leader, I think. And we all have that experience in our lives of people who didn't know that they come into the room and make everyone a little sad. They didn't know that their presence has that negative or positive effect on people. Or they were so staunch in their opinions and ways of doing things. They were never open to new ideas. We all know that makes bad leaders and managers. And so I think, when you can embrace even just those two concepts, you're going to be on the path to becoming an even better manager or leader.
Beautiful. Couldn't have said it better myself.
So that was number 4. You said you got a 5th one. What's that?
Yeah, I think the 5th one, and I'm putting it 5 for, I think a good reason, is just getting some measure of financial literacy and tax law in your country.
Yeah.
Because again, if most of us are using the Business for Unicorns income impact freedom model, everything is downstream of leads. You need customers to serve, or you can't have a great team and have any freedom, even if that freedom looks like dying in your gym, which I respect if that's what you want to do. But like, if you're not making money, there's only so long your gym's going to last. And we just got through the COVID apocalypse, and what percentage of gyms went out of business? And
like a third,
a lot. And when it's a service that like most humans need. And even if you're training athletes, you could argue that it doesn't, I guess you could say they don't need it, but they have like their identity and a massive career on the line. And even some simple stuff of just knowing like, how much taxes do you think you're going to owe? And like, how does a profit and loss work in broad strokes? And, I'd argue a balance sheet less valuable for a gym because we don't usually have a lot of assets, and generally speaking, but just having some balance of that. And I know a lot of people listening to this might feel the same way I did, where like, I'm not a math person. Guess what? I'm the finance seat for BFU. I'm the profit first guy at BFU. I also feel grade 12 math. Now, it's not because I was dumb. It's because I didn't do the work. But like, I just straight up couldn't do calculus. I checked out. But my point with this is like, this is a learnable skill. That's why we're talking about it as skills. And you don't have to make this overcomplicated. Get a decent accountant, get a decent bookkeeper, get a profit and loss every month, have a ballpark of what your expenses and revenue are going to be. Some basic things like, average revenue per member is probably the most important one. Learn how cost of goods sold work. But most important, learn how taxes work. Because it's not about how much you make, it's how much you keep. And even if you're not motivated by making money and you're sitting on a war chest, at least then you know how much you can pay your staff, how much you can give back to clients, how much of an impact you can make for nonprofits in the community. But if you're stressed about making ends meet from a financial perspective, it's really hard to put the client first in that consultation when you need the money more than maybe they need the service. And there's an element of like doing what's right for people here.
Yeah, I think that's really well said, Ben. I think you're right that people often think that like, like you said, I'm just not that good at numbers. I don't like spreadsheets are confusing. I don't know how to use them. Y'all can learn this stuff. you all can learn this stuff. And finances is one of those areas where you're probably going to outsource right away. Most of you will probably get someone to do your taxes right away, and you should. Most of you will probably have a bookkeeper to help you keep track of all your expenses and all that, and do your P&L and all that for you, and you should. But the rest of it is about you operationalizing the money coming into the business and out of the business, and keeping track of how that flow happens. And we're big fans of the profit first system, which is what we run in all of our businesses. And that's easy to learn. Easy to learn from us, easy to learn from the books, easy to learn on YouTube. Want to learn how to use spreadsheets? Go to YouTube, right? I mean, YouTube University really is so helpful here. I shared this recently, I think, on another podcast, because we had a guest on recently. We were talking about finances, Billy Hofacker. But Fisher and I, back in, I don't know how many years ago it was, both know that we needed to level up our skills when it came to finances. We took like a night adult course at NYU in New York, and just took like a basic bookkeeping and what was it called? I think it was called like finances for business owners. We just took like an adult nice course at a college to try and like level up our ability to read a P&L and a balance sheet and a cash flow statement. And so there's lots of ways to do it. But I agree, this is a strong number 5. And I think it's pretty critical, because if you ain't got money, it's hard to keep anything else moving. Yeah. I love this list, Ben. I think this is a great one. I think reasonable people can argue and debate about if these are in order of most least important. I don't know that they are, but at the very least, I think they are in order of ones you have maybe the most control over, right? Because the first one is about just how you spend your time. And I think that kind of self-mastery, I think, is critical to any job you're ever going to have, especially one where like you don't have a boss. I think you having some discipline and order to how you run your day is critical. Yeah. And then I think all the rest we went through, I think, are also really fantastic. So let's say this, that for our listeners who are taking notes, hopefully you took some notes about all the skill sets you want to develop. Ben, for those of you who have this list in front of them and are not sure where to start, what is like one thing they can do to start moving the needle forward for themselves?
I mean, I want to say just level up your time management 1% more than it is today. But let's just hypothetically say you've mastered that. And like we said, this may not be the perfect order. I would work down through that order and be like, what is the element that's missing? And if you really commit 2 hours a week to learning a skill set, and you outsource on YouTube or buy a course or whatever, want to get better at marketing, don't know where to start, find like a copywriting course on YouTube and commit to doing it and practicing it. Because it's not about how much better you'll be tomorrow. It's like, what will your business look like 1 or 2 years from now if you master like 3 skills a year? And I would argue that's going to be a very massive change.
I think that's the task, is just go dedicate some time to learning and personal development and growth. Because we all say it's important for our team, but often as leaders, we're the last person to be sitting down and actually leveling up our own skills. And I think it's important just to dedicate time to it. And whether, like you said, Ben, it's YouTube, or I was a big fan, I still am, of the website Coursera. Coursera has like a class on literally everything. And sometimes it's literally college courses you can take for free. And so I think, there's really no excuse. Information is widely available, but I think if you dedicate the time to leveling up some of the core skill sets we talked about here today, you're only going to improve yourself and your gym along the way. Yeah.
Maybe instead of, listening to a few different podcasts a week and getting lots of ideas, like go down a rabbit hole of like, what are the 10 best courses on X podcasts on X topic? And I'm going to crush all of those and not focus on anything else. This is my singular focus. You did it with getting your fitness skills set up. You can do it with something else.
Yeah, as long as Business for Unicorns is always on that list, as long as the Business for Unicorns podcast is always on that list. Yeah, then I love that idea. All right. Well, thanks for the great topic, my friend. I think this is a really fantastic kind of quick bullet point list of the skills that are really pretty critical for owning a gym. And frankly, I would say pretty critical for probably owning any small business, as we're going to zoom out. But I know all of you listeners took good notes and are going to go take action in the way we said. Also, a quick reminder, if you want to improve one of your fulfillment systems in your business, and you want to improve the way that you do your programming for your clients, again, go check out TeamBuilder. Go to teambuilder.com. Sign up now using the code BFU and start an exclusive 30-day trial from being a listener of this podcast. So go do that right now. Thanks, Ben. I'll see you on the next one.
Take care.